F1 24 is here, and in the lead up to its release there has been a lot of buzz and discussion among F1 creators and esports drivers about the handling changes, and we've seen clips of extreme setups that have created very questionable driving conditions. We take a look at what is in the new official F1 game from EA and Codemasters, whether the new features and changes are adequate or not, and who might consider buying it as a result. We tested the game on a PC with a steering wheel, but we will also briefly discuss the controller handling in this video, and we also looked at VR and triple screen. So let's enter the cockpit. You are watching Overtake. My name is Michel and I've been following the Codemasters F1 game since F1 2010. It was one of the games that brought me into sim racing, really. Nearly 14 years later, F1 24 is now in the start line and comes in two versions. The standard edition will be released on Friday, May 31st, and buyers of the Champions edition can start today. Let's get this out of the way first. We understand everyone who doesn't accept these yearly updates, who doesn't like EA and their policies, and who would rather drive another season in the game from last year or, for example, in F1 2020. You are not wrong. Objectively, the changes in F1 24 are only in the details, and you could call it an update. That's the way it is with sports games. There are only major changes every few years. Marketing and licenses must be expensive. As a drop in the bucket, owners of F1 2021 until F1 23 will receive a 15% discount on pre-orders of the Champions Edition. If you are new to the series this year, you get a very comprehensive racing game. All the F1 cars from the current season have been updated with CAD data, plus the F2 season from 2023 is available at launch, with the 2024 cars added later in an update. Unfortunately, the historic cars, often requested by the fans and last available in F1 2020, are completely missing. The drivable supercars from the previous year have also been removed. All 24 tracks of the current season are included, 4 of which have received major updates, especially Spa-Francorchamps, which was long overdue. A lot of work has also been done on the Jeddah circuit. And as a 25th track, Portimao is also still in F1 24. Would we like to see more tracks, even from previous years? Of course we would. And what about the handling? Codemasters has reworked the driving physics based on feedback from real drivers, for example in the areas of tires, which are no longer a simple block, but also simulate a carcass and its temperatures. There have also been changes to the suspension and aero to make the difference between a Red Bull and a Ferrari, for example, even clearer. All this means that the cars turn much more directly and have less tendency to understeer. The standard 400-degree steering angle feels like about 300 to 340 degrees in F1 23 and is very pointy. Some testers criticize that aggressive driving is now rewarded much more. The game is generally more arcade heavy and unrealistic driving maneuvers are possible. For example, if you create extreme setups. Many curbs can now be taken much more aggressively. But we don't have an esports approach here, and we at Overtake actually like the driving experience quite well, even though the depth and tire model of course are a far cry from Assetto Corsa, rFactor 2 or iRacing. Low speed grip is sometimes an issue, but is also related to the new engine brake setting, which plays a role in ERS recovery. If you set this to 0%, the cars will drive much more naturally again. F1 24 has a much stronger ERS, which we can now control ourselves through different delivery modes and with the overtake button for full power. Now, this adds a strong tactical element to overtaking and defending in addition to the DRS that allows the rear wing to fall down on certain straights. Lift and coast strategies to recover more energy will also play a bigger role. We also have an overtake button here on the channel that you can press to subscribe for free, so you don't miss any videos in the future. You might also want to check out our website overtake.gg. There are articles, forums and great like-minded people waiting for you, and we have already opened the F1 24 mod section, where you'll be able to find helmets, liveries and other items soon, provided by the community for the community. The force feedback tested with a Fanatec Clubsport DD Plus felt really tight and communicated the frequencies of driving conditions, curbs and road bumps well. Controller driving is not my comfort zone, but after a short period of getting used to it, I was able to put in a reasonably elegant lap even in Monaco, although the inbuilt layers for steering take some getting used to. The car's movements definitely look very arcade-like this way. Controller drivers, can you tell us in the comments how you like it this year? Some rumble effects are new to the pit stop when your mechanics are changing your tires, but only for Logitech True Force wheels and controllers. To be clear, the handling is certainly not perfect, and it doesn't bring out all of the fine details of your expensive direct drive steering wheel hardware, but it's not bad or even game-breaking for us either. You can have fun and a good time with it. Don't forget that a game like this must appeal to a wide audience for which it simulates a lot, including dynamic weather and a rain driving model. But of course, if you advertise the most authentic and immersive driving experience ever felt in an F1 title, you must be measured against such statements and take criticism, as that's a really bold claim. To close this chapter, my secret star of the game is the F2 cars, which somehow feel more authentic and natural than the F1 cars. A positive are the several game modes that are available to experience Formula 1 in different ways. The Breaking Point story mode from last year has been paused, but the classic career has received its biggest overhaul since 2016. There's a stronger integration of driver ratings, expanded rivalries, new elements in R&D such as specialists, new cutscenes, and finally the option to start the season as one of the real drivers. In addition to the official F1 and F2 drivers, there are also icons such as Senna, Schumacher, Häkkinen, Mansell and others. We recommend that you drive at least one short season of F2 before moving on to F1, as it is really fun and will teach you some driving techniques, especially if you want to drive more realistically without TCS and ABS. It also helps to find the right difficulty level for the AI opponents, which you can adjust between rounds. I found myself between 85 and 90 in the beginning, just before Master, so there's plenty of room for improvement up to 110. Basically, F124 gives you a lot of customization options for your career, be it the assists, simulation aspects, formation lab, manual start, weekend structure and race length, and so on. An extreme pity for sim fans, Codemasters still doesn't trust us to take control in the pit lane ourselves. The first few hours of the career actually felt very immersive and good with the new changes, and there are also a few surprises such as secret meetings. The remaining gamification features from the last years, such as the R&D practice programs with track acclimatization and others, are also still a very good idea. Only the AI consistency had a few misfires and felt too fast in qualifying in Bahrain, for example. Codemasters promised updates, but the fact that this is still happening after all these years make it a bit disappointing. However, you can fight with the AI on track fairly well, they defend themselves, they attack, they respect the player to a good extent. Even if you brake way too early, they won't drive straight into your back. The popular My Team career, where you start as the 11th team with more team management aspects, is also included. Doesn't feature all of the new additions to the career mode like as driver rating, specialist and so on. Fortunately, the two-player co-op mode does. Here you can choose to have the host handle the R&D and contract aspects and you stay on the same team, or you can have both drivers go different ways as the career progresses. A brand new feature is the Challenge career, which features different scenarios and episodes that allow you to compare yourself to others in a single-player scenario via leaderboards. And then there is F1 World, which should appeal to anyone who enjoys collecting, upgrading cars with rare parts, and season passes. This part of the game still screams EA everywhere, including buying outfits and such, but thankfully that can be completely ignored as there are many other things to do in the game. But we would be happy if, instead of unlockable helmet designs, gloves and liveries, they just implemented a good editor with a sharing feature similar to Gran Turismo 7. And now there are fantasy sponsors that make the cars look a little more realistic, but they don't have a place on the suit and helmet. The multiplayer lobbies, also with equal cars option, ranked play, single Grand Prix modes and time trial are also included in this section. F124 also offers options for leagues and exemplary telemetry functions via RaceNet. What I think is pretty cool is that there is even a LAN mode and local split screen. There's also a photo mode and the ability to save replays. However, the replays don't look very clean, always have some small micro stutters and don't sound very impressive. Here you can probably see that the Ego engine is aging. Speaking of tech and graphics, not much has changed, but the road surfaces are a bit more contrasty. You can watch a detailed side-by-side comparison with F1 23 on our channel. The biggest change might be the reworked driver models. Still a bit uncanny, but definitely better than before. New options are NVIDIA SER for more efficient shaders and frame generation. The game looks anything but bad, especially with ray tracing and ultra details, even if it still looks a bit blurry and out of focus. Worse with some anti-aliasing techniques than with others. My NVIDIA RTX 4080 with the latest driver, also tailored towards F1, could reach about 100 FPS at a resolution of 1440 on ultra high. On triples I had to lower the overall settings to high to stay in a similar FPS range. There's still no real triple screen support. On the sides you will get a stretched image like in the previous years. It still feels more immersive in the cockpit perspective, and I prefer that over the other cam options, and there are plenty. Here too, a lot can be adjusted, both in the camera settings and when customizing the on-screen display, which can be quite fiddly because you have to adjust it individually for each session type. The audio section has also undergone minor additions and revisions. The track intros and sequences are all professionally dubbed.
Stroll, Latifi, both Gilles and Jacques, the 4 Canadian point scorers here. It is a favourite of the F1 calendar. Welcome to Montreal.
Plus real sound clips of the drivers, for example on the radio at the finish line.
Red line speed at the end there. Sake, missed by not much, but yeah, sorry guys, sorry for that.
There's a new soundtrack, the option to switch to instrumental theme music only, and there are filters for the engine sound, a muffled driver version, broadcast and cinematic mixes, and here's a quick comparison of that. The game also has some accessibility options, colorblind mode, tinnitus filter and other aids. This is very commendable. The VR is another mixed bag. For me it worked quite well with the Pimax Crystal directly through Steam VR, offering plenty of adjustment options and a sharp image. The mid to high settings performance was also fine. Our colleague Yannick couldn't even get into the main menu with its Pico 4 and OpenXR. We can't recommend much more than to try it with your individual setup and refund if it doesn't fit or doesn't work. On the other hand, during the normal course of the game we had very few to no significant bugs, glitches or the like. Now it's your turn. Will you play F1 24? Did our review help you decide? It probably depends on how long you haven't played an F1 game and what kind of gamer you are in general. How much you want to relive this year's season in an atmospheric way. If you want the latter, there's probably no way around F1 24, and as we said, we're having a great time with the title so far. With this in mind, we'll continue to follow up on the release with guides and other updates, so see you next time.